What's up, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, to my kings, queens, and those of us who identify in between or not at all, to the lovers and haters, haters and lovers, judgers, and those who are envious of others. Welcome to another episode of Standing in Your Truth Talk podcast. I am your host, Armond Anderson Bell, coming to you live with another exciting topic. Again, this is season two, episode two, and I'm beyond excited to continue with the journey that I started last year, um, stemming from the topics last year. Last week of the importance of Black history, where I interviewed Malik and April of Malik's books inside the Crenshaw Baldwin Hills Mall here in LA, as well as the Fox Hills. And we had a nice conversation. So today, what I'm doing is extending that olive branch and have a distinguished panel of individuals. We all fall under the extensive and inclusive LGBTQIA plus community, and we will share our personal experiences on why we feel or why we've seen the exclusion or not as much representation when it comes to making and being part of Black history. So, with that being said, I'm going to have my panel introduce themselves. And again, this is a diverse panel discussion. We are speaking from our own personal experiences. If you are on the Facebook Live page, feel free to join with comments, questions. But again, everyone speaking today is coming from their own personal experience and their perspectives. With that being said, we're going to start off and introduce the panel and start the conversation off. So I will start what I see to my left. Miss Jazzmun Crayton, can you introduce your fabulous self, darling?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jazzmun Crayton. I'm gender fierce. I'm a Black femme queen, transsexual, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here. And happy Black History Month. And I just want to hold sacred space for Ken Jones, um, Mary Wilson, and oh my God, Cicely Tyson. I just want
Yes.
sacred space and just honor their lives and the contributions they made to the world. And it's just an honor to be here tonight. Do you want resume or is that
You
enough?
can give a brief, I don't, I know you. We've known each other for a long time, sis. So
Oh God, I wish you were reading something, but
I
I
know.
I live I live here in Los Angeles. I am the associate director at APAIT, which is a nonprofit here in Los Angeles. I started out as a peer health educator. I go out in the streets, I do outreach, and I provide housing for trans women, trans men, and queer community in general here in Los Angeles. So we have two houses. We have Casa Zuma and Auntie Melly's house, and we work with Hoppix as well as LASA, the Los Angeles Housing Authority. And I also sit on the board of the Trans Advisory Council of Los Angeles under Mayor Garcetti and Mitchell Pharaoh. And I've also been in a lot of movies and TV shows.
Oh,
So
don't be modest, sis. Come
I've
on.
been in a lot of movies and TV shows, and I'm really grateful for my my time here in Los Angeles. And I have a birthday tomorrow, so I'll be
Yes.
62 tomorrow. So I'm
Happy
excited.
birthday, sis. Thank you, Jasmine. She was being modest, but we're going to go ahead. We'll talk about your contributions to entertainment as well. Next up, hailing all the way from the nation's capital, DC, is my friend Harry Crawford, who was on my show last year, coming back to share his perspective. Hey, Harry.
Hey, hello everyone. Thank you again, Arma, for sharing this platform. It is such an honor and a privilege to actually be able to just not only share my experience, but be among other Black, men and women and hearing their perspective and their stories on just what Black history means to them. Um, a little bit about me, was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I've been in the nation's capital now going on almost 2 years. One of the biggest things for me when it came down to moving, I wanted to be in an atmosphere where I could be who I am. And I definitely believe that DC was a place that provided that for me. There have been endless opportunities. I know that the doors are continuing to being built and being open. So I'm definitely excited to just continue to just flow into those opportunities and happy Black History Month. We are Black history, so I'm so excited to dive in with this excellent panel this evening.
Thank you so much, Harry. Next up, the elder of the group, the man himself, Mr. Paul J. Scott. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for taking the time to come through. You're on mute, Paul.
I'm on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
What's up, Black people? What's up, Black people?
Yeah.
It's fucking fabulous seeing y'all, Black people. Ain't nothing like y'all.
Okay.
And y'all know that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That part. Listen, like, you know, it's crazy. Like, I'm damn near 60, been surviving this fucking virus, HIV shit forever, taking the pills shit, and I'm still alive and fab.
Yes, you are, Paul. And you have done so much here in LA.
Got past the crack, ain't doing the meth shit, all that stuff, you know? and I'm like, I see our community going in crazy ways. So be honest with you, Armond, I appreciate you inviting me onto this. I'm really here to listen because I already have my opinion on shit, right? I'm older, I got my shit, right? But this is a younger generation coming around. And I'm not attached to them. I'm not connected to the newer struggles and the newer ideas. So before I spout off my thoughts and my beliefs, I'd like to hear more of the realities of today's community that I'm somewhat detached from. You know, I'm detached from the fans only pages and the whole internet thing and the Skype and the TikToks, and I don't do all that. You feel me?
Right.
But I understand that is now the reality for the Black LGBTQ community. So I need to hear more so that I can be an effective elder in the community. My background comes from, you can Google my name. First of all, just Google Paul Scott. You'll see some shit.
Yes, God. You from LA, you know Paul.
Scott, you'll see some shit, right? That's one of the things that I've done. But I was also president of this. I was in the military, blah, blah, blah. I was also president of Black Pride here in Los Angeles. And the challenge that I had with being part of that or president of that, to me, it just seemed like a party, an annual event. Yeah. And I wanted to develop it beyond that because at 60, I don't do parties. I'm not a club promoter, you know. But I wanted to develop it beyond that, but there was a lot of resistance to developing that effort.
Well, we'll get more into that, Paul. I want to make sure.
What I'm learning in our Black community, if there's an organization that you think isn't doing what you think it should do, to create your own. We need more, not less. True. We need more. I think it's impossible for any one effort to support all of us. So those of us that can should, particularly now, we're at a moment where Black people actually exist, and they're talking about Black Lives Matter. So those of us that are here, the leaders that are on this Zoom meeting, you all, it's important for us to capture this moment because this moment wasn't 10 years ago. They weren't giving a goddamn about Black Lives Matter. Right. And we're here now. And now what do we do with this opportunity? And Armond, again, I appreciate you for doing this.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you again for your contribution. We're going to get all into the nitty gritty, dig under the fingernails and the dirt, everything. Coming up next on the scope is Des the Pharaoh Glover.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing, Black people?
Yes.
Melanin popping, looking good.
Melanin and rainbow in it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm hailing all the way from sunny California as typical. But I'm a California native. My name is Des the Pharaoh Glover, born Desiree. Lately, I don't necessarily assimilate to the gender situation. I'm just me. I'm Desbian.
All right.
You have to ask. I mean, you know what I mean? You can't find it in the textbook. You got to
hello somebody.
Have a conversation. But I'm here, all things music. I play everything except strings. My life, my work, and my memories will be wrapped around music. But I am very much a conscious trouble starter. I'm trying to be careful placement here. With regards to the movement of what we call Black here in America.
Okay.
And I say that intensely and purposely because I'm just about awakening minds. I'm about educating those allies who would dare to, affix verbiage upon us and our doings. I am I'm a provoker, if you will, in that respect. And so, actually, kind of outing myself right now, even, but a little bit of my work and my power and passion is in just about allowing everybody to show up to the table grown and be able to have grown up conversation without any harm, any judgment, any ridicule. But being grown enough to allow the next grown up next to you to exist and breathe. So that's why.
Well, thank you, Des, so much. We go back 20 plus years. Ooh, you right. Oh yes, baby. You knew me when I was just in a training bra getting ready for an A cup. So
yeah. Oh man,
it's been a minute.
And we know that's way back.
Yes, it is, darling. And speaking of divas next to you, coming up next to you is Ocea Lei. Welcome again, Ocea. Ocea was on my show before on relationships, and now she's joining this distinguished panel of the Melanin and Rainbow in it community as we talk about our, inclusivity. So welcome again, Ocea. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Armond. I enjoyed it last time.
Thank you.
Sure it'll be the same this time. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here. Here to learn, give whatever contributions I have, like based on my experience of, being a Black lesbian. And what else? I'm a writer. I do spoken word, poetry. Started doing spoken word in LA around 2012, different venues like the Poetry Lounge and different spots. Been living here for 15 years, originally from Santa Cruz, California. I lived in Minneapolis for 10 years, which is, also, I think at some point was like the second gayest city in the country at some point, but, mostly white gays. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a great experience here. A lot of like networking abilities with, the Black LGBT community. And, I spent 22 years raising a son on my own, experienced a lot here in LA, including homelessness a couple times. And so I'm just here to contribute to, Black history in relation to LGBT people. LGBTQIA, I go by she, her, or they, them. I also identify as a two-spirit. So I'm ready to get into it.
Yes, thank you, Ocea. And coming up in the rear, I have coming in from the headquarters of one of our service organizations here in Los Angeles, Reach LA, who I've been working with since 2006, is Mr. Jalen Hibbert. Thank you, Jalen.
Of course, thank you for having me. Honestly, I'm humbled and just excited to be here. I'm new to, how's everybody doing? Oh, beautiful. Please stay that way. But also, I just wanted to say that I'm new to this work, this at Reach LA, in this health work, and over a past, I'm coming up on my year now, and I'm now the HIV testing coordinator at Reach LA. And so I'm honestly just excited to be in this field, to be able to be around great, beautiful minds. So I just honestly want to soak up everything and just be a vessel for the community, and honestly just say what I want to say and hear everything that you have to give us. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you again, Armond.
Thank you, guys. And so now that we've got over the daunting task of introducing this fabulous and distinguished panel, I want to get to it. And so again, I brought this panel together in continuing to celebrate Black history. Oftentimes our representation as being people of color, along with the LGBTQIA plus. And again, I'm using the inclusivity of those acronyms without offending or bringing knowledge to all those. Some of us may subscribe to some of those, some of us may not. But in order to be open and honest and share with everyone, the LGBTQIA plus community is what the umbrella of what we'll be talking about today. And so with that being said, we have an idea of what Black history is, but a lot of times our representation is not included. Let's briefly go, whoever would like to speak first, keep in mind we have this large panel, but why do you think that is, and where do you think it comes from? Anyone can start.
So, I mean, for Black men to even acknowledge the fact that we're gay, that's a whole new lexicon that we're getting familiar with. I mean, it's not easy for a 6-year-old or 50-year-old Black man to say, I'm gay. We still don't even say we're gay now. The identity is still shifting, it's still changing. Notice we don't call our prides Black gay prides, we call them Black prides. So the language is tough. I grudgingly started calling myself a gay man because I felt like by doing so, because Jewel sent me to a therapist, Jewel, catch one, and had me understand why we needed to start calling ourselves who we are. It'll bring us power. And so I'll be honest with you, at damn near 60, I never called myself gay, but I am now. And by doing so, man, you'd be surprised how many brothers come up to me want to tell me a story. You'd be surprised, man. I had a contractor come to me yesterday. He says, we were talking about this and that. He was a pimp. He go, oh, by the way, my oldest brother was gay. And it's like by me being open who I am, I'm having brothers who would never talk about their cousin or their brother or something that happened to them, would never talk about gayness, but are beginning to open up to me. So I'm finding that the universe, spirit, or whatever, there's a need and there's a place for a big Black man to say I'm gay. And it allows others to be more comfortable with their stories. And I'm learning.
Thank you, Paul. Ocea, you started to chime in. Thank you again, Paul.
I'm sorry. Can you clarify the question again for me?
Yeah, as we see, we're struggling with Black history and our representation, but how or why do you think the lack of queer or LGBTQIA plus is prevalent in the Black community?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many factors involved in that. I was not long ago, like watching an interview of Audre Lorde and some, women that she used to write with. And she was talking about just how, it was hard, obviously not just being a Black woman, but also being a lesbian and having in the Black community, having to choose, that when you're generally around Black folks, it's like, oh, well, you're Black first, you're always told. And she was like, well, how is that? Like when I'm, I guess she had like a friend of hers had an experience in a gay club in like Greenwich Village back in the day, whatever, this like the 60s or whatever, where, basically they were kind of like being assaulted and like no white women stepped forward to help them at all or anything, white lesbians, they're like, oh, I'm sorry this happened to you, but nobody stepped in and stopped it, So I'm just giving that example, but also just as everyone knows, like just our community being, very Christian and very religious. And I understand that there are the exceptional Christian and religious people that do embrace us and say, well, God loves everybody. They raise you guys like that. But for the most part, it's like, no, that's wrong. And you know better because you know what we came from and you know what you're raised like. And like, we feel that pressure to just kind of like, keep it hidden. And I know, like, I've never lived in the deep South, but I lived in Oklahoma for a couple of years where my dad is from in Tulsa and Oklahoma City for a year. And I know that in the South, that it's like the mentality is like, oh, people know you're gay. You can be gay, you can be lesbian, LGBT, but don't talk about it. You know what I mean? And even if you bring that person around that you're with, it's like, still, you don't talk about it. Like they don't care really what the truth is, as long as you don't put it out there for people to see. And another thing, bringing up Audre Lorde again, she was talking about the damage that the silence and keeping it in had done to her and how she felt like it was related to her breast cancer that she ended up battling with. And I believe that that's the truth, you know, like when you're not able to live in your truth and, you know, stand in your truth, like the name of your, the name of your talk, it's like, you know, it brings you a lot of stress, which, you know, basically turns into trauma, which can turn into disease. And like in our community, it's, everyone knows, like, I know if you guys know that we all know as Black LGBT people that being LGBT since way back in the day was considered something that white people did, the bourgeoisie white people, it was like for them. But like, oh no, you guys can't be like that or whatever, unless you're, you know, a Black wealthy person or whatever, you know. So there is that stereotype too, that like somehow people in poverty or whatever, or struggling or whatever, aren't gay. You know what I mean? So all those different factors, I think, causes Black LGBT people not to be able to, you know, live their truth.
Right. Thank you, Ocea. Jazzmun, my darling.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Both of you. It was like right on the nose. Oftentimes they don't see us as dimensional. They don't see us as complex. They don't and I'm saying I'm just saying in general, right? But specifically, sometimes our own people don't see our magic. They can't see our magic because it makes them uncomfortable. But we've always like shined. Like the children have always danced. They've always showed up. Right now, they're just like, they're on fire right now. I love that we're everywhere. All the TV shows with the women, the wives or whatnot, a Black queen, fed them their lines and gave them the language. We give you language, we give you ideas, we give you beauties, we give you looks. The Black queer community has always done that. I mean, not even trying to do it. So it's just, now we're in a place where we're saying you need to see our sacredness. You need to see us whole and complete, right?
Amen.
And perfect. And if you don't, we're going to keep showing you how it's going to be, how it's going to look. And we've all done a good job, and Paul has done a good job by just existing, because his strength and his existence helps create the babies that come underneath him to stand on his shoulders and his back and really, you know, do work their magic. Like, it just keeps evolving. And I'm just so grateful to be living in this moment at this time, you know, today, because I get to see it all around me, you know, like Black magic, and it is fire. And I'm just honored and grateful to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Jazzmun, my love. Thank you. Harry.
I was trying to keep quiet, but you know, y'all get to talking about some good stuff. Now I'm ready to
I know y'all getting ahead of the question, so you know.
I didn't forget what the question was. I just had to give my little 2 cents.
But go ahead, baby. I got change.
I think it's so important for us to continue to have these type of platforms and these conversations, just to know where we have come from. And when I say that, being a psychology major, way back then they were trying to have, you know, classify homosexuality in the DSM-5. They were trying to, you know, like, oh, you know, you were gay. They're trying to diagnose you and give you medicine because they thought it was just something, you know, I can give you this, you'll be okay, and you go on about your way. But one thing that I love about this generation is they rise up, and you know, at the end of the day, they don't care about being accepted because this is who I'm going to be. And one thing that I have loved about, you know, even with a lot of like the TV shows, as you know, Jazzmun was talking about, like, you see, you know, for Pose to be as huge as it was, and for Legendary to be on HBO, it's like, this is our time. Like, this is the time that we're shining. And one thing that I love when a man that can classify himself as straight, I love when he can give love to the man that is gay. Like, I love that, because at the end of the day, we're human too. Right. So I'm gonna be on quiet because I'm drinking. I keep talking.
That's fine, baby. It's okay. I got you here for a reason. Thank you. Coming up, Des, and then we're gonna hit Jalen, then we're gonna go to question number 2.
He said he drinking, so he don't want.
Hey, can I pop in for a second, Des?
Just for a second, Paul.
Yeah, that gap in your teeth is bomb, girl. Look at that. You know,
Thank you, sir.
Dad's got that gap, and Harry got one too.
Little bit of royalty,
Okay.
That's all. Throw it at her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I got one, but I'm sitting down.
So, as a means of kind of sliding past that comment,
Yes.
but honestly, I do feel that at the core of it, for me, as I've evaluated for years across the span of my finding myself and researching and refining myself and defining myself, the biggest hurdle and obstacle for the bulk of us as a people that stands in between us and the popularized Black history is the Black church. God bless its soul. But it is a Black church. It's the place that I got my origination, if you will. I first found my first love and planted and groomed my first spirituality and spiritual principles. Howbeit, it is the very thing that shit on me. And it was a lot the place where I get a lot of my first healings and figure out how to grow on and beyond from that place and space that did not embrace me. Told me stories of how I was included, but did not embrace me, much like the Americas here, but that's not the conversation presently. So I don't necessarily attack the church. I had to find myself within it. I had to kind of play catch up. I didn't want to leave baby Des lost in that place. So I had to go back and kind of really reclaim. And I don't place any blame necessarily, but I am speaking from an accountability standpoint. I feel that we will get, and we're already, as everybody's noted, we've made leaps and bounds. This is an amazing moment. We're set up for places and things and accomplishments that we have never been able to really even dream so much about. But I think that if the church, the Black church that is, were to acknowledge and play an ounce of accountability in the whole big picture of things, I see 100 times what we see. And if just, and I don't think there's no way to undo what's been done, right? But I think if you acknowledge, it's almost like reparations, right? Like at least acknowledgement. You've scrubbed us from your books and your renderings, but at least acknowledge. And it just would melt away so much, I think, inner anguish for so many of us that carry multiple wounds because we're Black and gay and that way. And it's just, just this conglomerate of
because that's an important conversation, because I was never brought up religious. So Christianity has never been part of my thing. I don't know. I almost think contrary, because there'd be no Black church if there were Black gay people. I mean,
for sure.
All the kids that make the church is gay.
For sure.
We're gonna get to that, Paul. We're gonna get to that tea spilling in a second.
I look at all the choirs and say, look at all them girls up in there.
So, right.
I mean, like, I'm on a listening mission, so I'm having to listen, hearing you, seeing how impactful that was for you, because I didn't get raised in the church, fortunately.
Right.
I think the church could make a difference. In my mind, what I see, the church gave a lot of Black gay boys sanctuary to be fierce and be gay and feel the Lord.
Yeah.
Well, they told us that we were going to hell. That's what they told us.
Right.
They didn't give us a platform. They gave us a place to spend eternity. That's what they told us.
We chose consciously to hang on to a very toxic relationship with the church. Yes, the walls were written. We were full. Every, whichever storefront, from the small little hokey churches to the mega churches. We were lining the walls and definitely on their stages, bringing their praise and worship. Right. However, it was a tormentuous ordeal.
Kind of a love-hate relationship.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. It's like relationship. Why is it so hard to kind of go, okay, I'm done right here and move on? But we,
it's the manipulation.
We didn't change church titles, and if we did, we stayed inside of the same denomination, knowing that the denominational basically rules were gonna carry over to the next church. So yeah, I mean, and I'd like to think, or I'd like to say that possibly there's a majority of us's that came through church in the church experience. More and more, I'm meeting people that have not, Paul, and I'm just so envious. My gosh. But I mean, just to be able to form my own.
Have fared well. I mean, you've evolved, but
you have to.
Well, if there were the Dantes of the world and the other people who've evolved past the church, I mean, you're still big leaders in our community. Again, I'm not religious, but the church, in my mind, gave you some sense of purpose, and you all are living it. Jeffrey Kings and all y'all Christians.
Well, I'd like to say without the Archbishop.
Right, I was going to get to that, but before
the Flanders.
Right, before we get to the tail end of the spirituality religion, I want to get Jalen's commentary on the duality of representation. And if I'm not being too brass, but Jalen is the youngest member in this group right now. So Jalen, what is your thoughts on representation of both the LGBTQ plus identity as well as Black history?
Yeah, I've said a lot. Like, Harry, I'm gonna need to just jump in like you before I lose my my points next time. Okay. But basically, for a while, because we're talking about standing in our truth, for a while I'm not, don't get me wrong, when I say resent, I don't resent my lifestyle and my journey. I resented the baggage that came with it. Mm-hmm. Like, why as Black people do we have to explain that anything? Why do we have to explain how much money we make? Why do we have to explain how vibrant we can be? Why do we have to explain that we're gay? I know I have plenty of cousins who, when they show up as, they present themselves as, I am a man, I am this, I am that. So for a while, I resented the fact that as a Black gay man, I had to account for everything. Account for my skin tone, I had to account for my aggression, I had to account for my attraction to other men. So long story short, I just feel like, well, to Paul's point, I had to learn to stand in my truth, one, and I'm trying to remember the words you said, but basically to show up. And I learned how important it is, because everybody wants a Black man or a gay in their pocket, whether it be for fashion, whether it be for whatever the case may be, Black is in. And I had to learn that, like, in hard ways, through resentment, through regret, through years of just finding myself and being able to live that fully. So for me, it's just crazy that we have to go through the things that we go through, but that also at the same time reminds me of how strong and how great we are. That's really all I wanted to say, though.
Thank you, Jalen. We live a life of trauma, and so as I being inclusive of everyone, African American or Black, we knew what that was like growing up, and feeling that other people, again, the show just didn't get the name because it was cute words. Spirit led me to call the show Standing in Your Truth. And so I'm hoping that every episode will allow myself, by being the producer and putting this together, but then other people come on. We stand in our truth every day. So as Black people, we have stood in our truth. As people under the umbrella of the LGBTQIA, we've had to stand there. Do you guys feel the duality of those things? And sometimes we're in the front seat, sometimes we're in the passenger seat. And if it were up to other folks, sometimes we'd be pushing the car. what did you guys experience in that life forming, you know, making it do what it do? Anyone?
What is our experience in being in that duality of being Black and
Right. Feeling the
LGBT?
pull of, and we'll be very brass. You're cool as long as you don't bring that gay shit around. Or if you're in the LGBTQIA areas like West Hollywood or any particular city that is dominated by our white counterparts. And again, this is perspective. Not all white people are racist. Not all homophobic people are heterosexual, but we know what it's like to feel the pull, especially when we're coming in our jobs and just our living. Oh, let me tone this Blackness down, or let me tone this gayness down. I, again, have said I am tired of taking medicine for other people's headaches. And whether that be their homophobia, whether that be their sizeism, their classism, their homophobia, you're uncomfortable. But baby, when I woke up this morning, I didn't ask your permission. What is you guys' takes on that?
Well, I mean, I would say that, like, for me, and I kind of spoke to this a little bit earlier, is that, like, you know, especially like, you know, in our community, we're forced to choose, like, oh, you're Black first, you know? And like, when I think about it, because, you know, like in terms of, you know, identifying, you know, as she, her, or, you know, two-spirit, like, you know, I dress what is typically, you know, oftentimes considered as, you know, stereotypical male clothes, you know, since we know that clothes get genderized. But sometimes I feel like, you know, I just want to blend in, and I don't want to, you know, like wear my suspenders and my ties and all that, or my, you know, because I feel like, okay, I already got to deal with this certain amount of pressure when I step out my door being, you know, a Black woman. Like, do I want to add this extra layer? And whatever job I'm doing, wherever I'm working, I'm going out, whatever I'm doing, I'm thinking, can I deal with all of this today? You know, can I deal with it? So I even think about it in terms of like, when I get up, what clothes I put on, you know? And I just think that that's just kind of like those little microaggressions and stuff that just start to build up, you know, over time. And like, we make those choices. Now we get to a point where, like, as we get older, we're just like, you know, I don't give a damn, I'm gonna do me, you know. But I just think it's important, like, for us to be visible. And like, I was just impressed with you, Armond, when I came to one of your shows, because, you know, we go back like, like 2012, and I saw you like do poetry, spoken word, and then like, I think I started following you, and I came to one of your shows, like, you know, doing
right. You came to my
drag.
Imani Phoenix show.
Yes, your Imani Phoenix show, and I was just like, wow, like, I was just so inspired, you know, because like, you just making like, you know, just making, you know, your identity in that, like, visible, you know, as like a Black male, which I, you know, consider you to be like, you know, cisgender, masculine presenting. And then
Girl,
like, I saw
was you blind?
Yeah, I saw you like that.
Right, thank you.
Wow, like, it's so beautiful. And like, you were just like so bold, and like, that visibility is so important, you know, like, for everyone LGBT. And I think about when I was a little girl, like, how it would be if I was able to see another Black girl, like, you know, presenting something other than quote unquote feminine or girly or whatever. But I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I was born in the late 70s. Like, I didn't see that. I didn't see it in the media. I didn't see it anywhere. So for me, when I think about how I present myself, it's like, I do it to be visible, you know, for other little Black girls, you know what I mean? To be able to say, hey, you know, like, little that maybe already know, like, since I was 4 years old, I knew, you know what I mean? So maybe you already know, it's like, oh, I'm not the only one that's like this, you know?
Right. Thank you, Ocea. Harry. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Ow, ow, ow.
Thank you. So when I am in my everyday, you know, living, and I am presenting myself, I present myself in a way every morning, like, my mindset is reminded that I have a village that I'm carrying with me. And I say that being, you know, Des, going back to your point, you know, my roots is in the church. That's all that I know. So, in the church is a blessing and it's a curse. The blessing in the church is if I don't know how to do anything else, I know how to pray.
Hey.
The curse is a lot of those prayers came from, Lord, I'm not understanding why you have me in this place with these crazy people. And once I was able to get away from church, not God, but from church,
amen, make it
then
clear.
That's when I had that spiritual alignment with myself, because if we're going to talk about the church, it does talk about, that you can't be a liar in God's eyesight. So, but I felt like I was lying to him every time I went before him to pray and ask him about something, because I couldn't even be real with myself because I was worried about what they were thinking, what they were saying. So the moment that I stepped out of that and I started to build a personal connection and relationship with God, because that's what I've experienced him. Do you understand how many of the women in the church and the first ladies that had so much to say when I was there, that's in my inbox, that asked me about the shirt that I just had on last week, or asked me about how I get my eyebrows so straight, or what mascara I got on? These are the same ones, but it's so crazy. I don't treat them the way that they treated me, because that's just not in me.
Right.
So, every morning when I wake up, I'm thinking about, the next generation, that, if like Cicely Tyson said, I've done my best. And she had paved the way for so many. And for me, if I wanted to be remembered by anything, I want to be able to pave the way for so many little Black boys, little Black girls, anybody in the trans community to be able to be who they are, to be authentic, and to be able to get the roses and the flowers that they deserve.
Amen. Thank you.
Question to that, Armond, Harry.
Yes.
Harry, are you convinced that God's in him?
God is a spirit. So however you want to classify that spirit.
It was him. Every time you
so when I speak of him, because that's how I was taught.
Before we go on to the next question and the next panelist, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our local hero, who has helped me since I was 20 in my spiritual journey, who has helped not only myself and hundreds and thousands of people, but the Los Angeles HIV and AIDS community, both heterosexual and LGBTQIA+, is the Archbishop Carl Bean. I give all honor and praise to him, who has helped me realize that what I do is not connected to who I am, as long as I know who I am and whom I belong to. And again, you hit it right there, because as Black people, we fight so hard not to treat the racist white person the same as they've treated us. And as LGBTQIA people of color, we try our best not to treat the heterosexual Black people the same as they treat us. And it's difficult, because we see the pain. And unfortunately, we know our brothers and our sisters and our non-gender conforming individuals who have taken their life because of taking the medicine of somebody else's headache. So I just want to throw that in there again. We always talk about the greats in our history who have made Black history, but the Archbishop Carl Bean on the corner of Jefferson and Sycamore paved the way for healthcare in South LA when our brothers and sisters were dying, both heterosexual and non, of HIV and AIDS. I just want to say that really, really quick. Bless you, Archbishop. Your work lives on, and every day that I breathe, I am glad that I have represented and still here at 42 to show your work is not in vain. Next person. I'm sorry, I just had to throw out there real quick, and y'all already know who I am, so my shouting corner is waiting on me right over here, because that's what I do. So again, thank you. Anybody else want to contribute to the duality that we go through?
I was going to bridge the gap, actually jump on something. Did I cut you, Jazzmun? I'm sorry, sweetie. I don't want to be rude. I'm a gentleman. I didn't,
Yes, you are, Daddy.
So, no, I wanted to just speak on something since you brought up Archbishop. Archbishop challenged me, I believe in the late 90s. He made a statement or asked a question from the pulpit. If in fact it were David Duke who were bleeding, half lifeless in the street, and only you were the only one around to provide some sort of assistance, what would you do? And for those who may not know, I can't gauge ages, because this melanin be doing wonderful work.
Yes, it
But,
do, baby. Look at this good 42.
David Duke would be, if you dip Trump in his own mold, folded 4 times, add 10 KKK members to that, and a few skinheads. That would be David Duke.
With a touch of Karen.
Right. Just to give you the quick version. What would you do? Would you offer assistance? Would you pick him up, put him in your vehicle, take him to the hospital? Would you, just place a phone call? Was that type of a challenge? And it was really a pivotal point for me. Because it's in your face. We can talk all day about how we're open, or how we're saved, or how we're not racist ourselves. But when you really kind of look at it from the framework of physically being in a position such as that question placed me inside of, it really did challenge my thought process. And I began, I believe, the process then of getting truly saved, to kind of clear the cobwebs out. But it's an interesting question. And as we're strumming that chord, typically we're not on the vengeful side of things, though we've come through many a trial. I wrote a song about it. No, I'm just kidding. But
and here you go.
Many a heartache, But we're typically not coming from that standpoint. We're not vigilant in that respect. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm going to just leave that right there. I'm going to let it go.
All right. Jazzmun.
I want to say the truth is constantly evolving. Because what we knew to be true at one time may not show up or be our truth today, right? And I honestly believe that some of the things that we were taught way before we were here, right? Like, oftentimes, people get this misconception that Black people are more homophobic than, their other, brown and white people, whatever. But it's not true. We were taught that. Like, we were taught not to like ourselves. We were taught not to support each other. We were taught not to love each other. This is something that was taught, and we've been working at it this whole time to change that narrative constantly, just by showing up, just by standing in our greatness. So the fact that our language as queer people has not been celebrated or understood is because it hasn't had its time in the forefront. So a lot of our people have died trying to get the message out. I mean, Baynard, just some major, Langston, Baldwin, everybody's been talking the language. Everybody's been doing their best work in that moment, right? But it just keeps evolving. That's what they were telling the truth, right? But not everyone could cipher or could understand it or was willing to acknowledge or accept. So we just keep saying the same thing. We do it in different ways, but we're saying the same thing, right? And we're reconditioning, reprogramming, and redefining, right? Like you were saying, rediscovering, discarding some things that are not working no more, right? So now more children are getting to stay at home and being raised, by their families and allowed to, stand in their queerness. They're not all being thrown out, right? Because people don't know, or they're embarrassed, or they don't understand, or my child and Jesus said this and Jesus said that. Nobody said anything. This is stuff people made up, right? Because they're looking for comfort and they're looking for support. And if they don't get the comfort and support, they don't want anything to do with it. But it takes a lot of strength to say, you know what, I don't know anything about this, but I'm willing to learn because I love you. And because you belong to me. So it's just a shift in the narrative. There's a shift going on in the universe, and it's perfect. It's perfect. And I want to be able to, if it isn't easy and fun and carefree, I don't want no part of it, really.
Okay. And
I'm
it's
not
enough.
about struggling. I'm not about owning other people's traumas or any of it. It needs to have some, it needs to be fancy free. I need to be able to move like water through it. And that's my goal.
It's enough for everybody. What's up, Paul? I got to get to Jalen real quick.
History, and I'm wondering, I don't think there's any Black people who didn't know Luther Vandross was gay.
No, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Who didn't think that Little Richard was gay. I mean, you know, as someone in our Black community, we've had it, but we didn't use those words.
Right. Well, the narrative has changed. And Jalen, I want to bring up that again, you know, but you are the youngest one. I've known you for quite a while, and I'm so proud. I attend Jalen's Shop Talk group on Reach LA on Thursdays, and it's really nice to sit in the passenger seat of a group of people. Again, when I was leading groups and things at Reach LA and seeing other people take, again, my shoulders are heavy because you may not see them, but there are several people standing on my shoulders, and I acknowledge them in everything that I do, from the way that I walk to who I talk and how I embrace others. So I thank people. And as the new generations come along, there's something for us to learn from them as well as for them to learn from us. How is that bringing everything in totality for you, Jalen?
Thank you. Honestly, a little bit like I said earlier, in learning to stand in my truth, with dealing with the duality of being gay and queer, growing up, I just kind of gravitated towards people who were like me, gravitated towards people who would accept me, gravitated towards people who you know, that were I got in where I fit in. Mm-hmm. And I learned that that's not fair, that the things that we go through as people of color, the microaggressions, the years of trauma that we internalize is not okay. So as opposed to getting in where I fit in, I just stood in my truth and learned how to manage that duality, because that is me. I can't go anywhere and not be gay, or at least I don't want to be, because I know I can come off as masculine, but it's not, you know, going back into the closet, that's not nothing I'm here for. I'm here to do me and be that every day, every time I'm anywhere. So as far as the duality goes, I'm just happy to have gone through what I go through, to see the things that to see life the way that I see it now, and to understand that as far as duality goes, anywhere I go, they're gonna know that Jalen is here, and this is Jalen, and he ain't going nowhere, and he's not trying to change it for nobody.
Amen. Thank you. Yeah, we get to that point, and thankfully we've evolved physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally to where, again, we're no longer taking medicine for other people's headaches. We've been who we are. It's other people who have tried to put us in a box and try to limit us or try to hide our shine. But we all know once we get to that point, baby, there's no going back, and you just feel it in everything you do. Embracing our melanin, embracing our size, embracing everything, even from our personal stuff, whether it be mental health and homelessness. All those things make up who we are, and there's no denying them. But when we can connect with them and embrace, again, the name came to me in spirit. The affirmation is my life affirmation as well as the show, and it's so impactful. Alter your narrative. It comes a time where we have to be accountable for what's being told to us. And you don't have to do it in an angry, because you go back and forth. But when you alter your narrative, you teach people how to treat you, whether it be a racist white person, a homophobic person, someone who does not understand using LGBTQIA. For me, if you like it, I love it. I may not subscribe to it. If you want to call yourself Z, from Z, Zeta, Beta, whatever, that's not my job to try to tell you how to identify with yourself. And we need to stop doing that. There's also inner homophobia that we've had with ourselves. Fats versus no fats, no fins, dark skin. There's so much in this world that tries to tear us apart. And if we sit and take the time to look at the individual, realize that there's a human being staring. And when I see love in your eyes, because I have it in me, that's all there is. None of us in this room are having physical sex as people want to make the focus of our life identity. We're individuals having a conversation as adults. How do you think that has transgressed with you guys, and how do you guys try to live it and show it in the things that you do?
I think for me, I try the best I can do to be transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And I am really big on authenticity and transparency just because before I was gay, I was Black.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a whole bunch of traumas with being Black. And not only am I Black, I'm a male. So I got a whole bunch of other traumas there. So I don't really have time to sit down with you and talk to you about who I sleep with and why I choose to sleep with him and what we do. Like, I need to figure out the things that's going on in my life that I didn't ask to be there, the things that I was born into. Mm-hmm. So, I think, I say that to say, one thing that's really big for me is self-healing. I want to be around people where we can conversate, for example, like this platform. Like, I'm so full. Like, when I walk away, like, it's like, oh my God, like, I'm thinking about everything that we've talked about. So I think, again, try to be transparent. I want to hear your story. I want you to hear my story. When we walk away, we good. But you're not about to sit there and have a conversation and have mimosas about, when I came out and why I came out. Like, I don't want to talk about that.
Right, unless you pay.
Like, I told my mom the other day, I'm kind of like the only one in my family that's just like, this is who I am. So sometimes the conversation still lingers around. And I had told my mom, I said, it's 2021. I'm a little confused on why is this still the topic of conversation when you have a virus that's sweeping the nation and you had an asshole in office. Like, you got time to sit down and talk about my sexuality? I'm a little confused right now.
Okay, pick your priorities, baby. There's so much more. Y'all already know. 86,400 seconds in any given day. Choose wisely what you do with because as we're seeing, everyone is not granted that next day. So if this is my last day on this planet Earth and I can't do nothing but lay my big pretty ass in the bed, I'm going to be the best laying in the big pretty ass bed person there is that day and going about my business because I stay in my own lane to avoid ongoing traffic. Hello, somebody. I want to jump to Jazzmun.
I want to say one thing. I think it's important that people know that we make love and that we are lovers and that that we touch each other and that they need to see it all the time. They need to. That's what I mean about the dimension. They need to see the complexity of us so they know that our relationships are real. Like when we're in pain and there's conflict in our relationship, they understand that it's a real relationship. Because if they don't see it, they don't believe it, so they can't honor it, and they don't know how to celebrate it.
And after hearing
so when you're in pain, I'm sorry.
After hearing your comment, and then after hearing Harry's comment, I opine for your younger generation because y'all on this internet stuff, and internet ain't really like. It's not this newer generation. We're from the old school way before the internet. We touch each other. We made love. We did it without our cell phones recording it. And the challenges that Harry, you're facing now, brother. Oh, the challenges that Jazzmun, you're now facing, I didn't face. And I can imagine how you're adjusting to them.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that even though you didn't face it, it wasn't accepted, right? So there was a lot of high go seek, right? It's just recently that you're walking down the street holding hands. Just recently that you can get married, right? This is recent. So what I'm saying, like, it's necessary that people constantly see you in love, see you in passion, see the complexity of the human spirit in you on a daily basis. All the time, right? It's about like constantly humanizing your experience in front of the world. Like,
but they're not doing it on just fans only pages. They're not doing it on X2.
No. I'm just saying.
Right, but Paul, that's
living your life, right? Just living your life because they don't want us to still adopt kids. Like there's still blocks at the road stop saying no, they're not mentally stable enough to raise these kids, or it's just a lot of a lot of red tape. So it's like the more that they see us loving and growing and just being whole and complete and just, you know, just human, right?
Just living our lives.
Yeah, it really shifts, you know, narratives. But right now we're in this, you know, black and white thing, you know, it's really strong right now. So, you know, they're trying to mute certain things, and, you know, certain voices are not being, you know, brought to the, you know, forefront. So I'm really liking, you know, us, you know, on the panels, and, you know, COVID has shifted things where we are, you know, interfacing on a much more global level, you know, through the internet. So it's a pretty interesting, beautiful time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a give and take, and I want to shout out to Jazzmun, who I've known for quite a while. And when it comes to representing, we don't do it in hopes, because we're just living our life. So whatever if you're an entertainer, if you're a person, and we see the external, but we don't really know the internal of what it takes. When I first met Jazzmun, I was so in awe and enthralled of her, seeing her on different television shows. This was before I became an actor. And so having people like her and my friends who encouraged me, because I'm thinking, okay, nobody, but here I am, a big Black man who is dressing in drag from South Central LA with mental health issues, who have been homeless, who has all these adjectives behind me. But all I knew is that every time I walked into a room, a casting call, a show, even as far as being the first drag queen to be the queen of the Pasadena Doodah Parade, I showed up in my authenticity as Armond Rashad Anderson Bell. And it was people who have paved the way: Jazzmun, Archbishop, Jeffrey King, all these people living their authentic life. We're now just coming on this thing about Black, you know, Black girl and melanin magic. But we got a little mix of rainbow in there. And it ain't nothing no different than the greats Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, you know, Langston Hughes, Bayard Rustin. Again, I'm so grateful that I had that knowledge as a Black man, to find out that the man who was instrumental in helping Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. form the civil rights movement and the March on Washington was an openly gay Black man. And he sat in the back seat with his orientation in order to lift up his race. Now, I'm going to call it what it is. Sometimes our race won't do the same for us. They'll have us entertain and do all those things. But when it comes to being human, even as far as taking care of our sisters, our aunts, the kids, we're there. But we have to humanize ourselves and say, you're not going to limit me to those things. And again, the representation that we have is vital for other people to see, whether it's seen or not seen. Living life is not always in front of the camera, and it's not always good. Anybody would like to comment on, you know?
I love that, Armond. You said humanize, humanize. I've been wanting to say something about with regards to, I think, the importance of us showing up, standing in your truth. It's a brilliant, brilliant phrase. I often say to people, do you and do you well, because you are the blessing that God gave to the world. And so it's important for you to show up authentically as yourself, not watered down, not, not fragmented and shaved off so that somebody else doesn't be offended, but just so that you can be who, what was the whole purpose in originating? There's a purpose to your presence. And so it's important for us to embody that without apology and serve it to the world in love. Now, I'm a stickler for not being overly abrasive. Because a lot of things are abrasive in and of themselves, but you can be sassy in how you serve that. And people be like, oh my God, did I just get cut? Well, what just happened? Right? So, there's still a way to do anything. But I think that our raw essence is so important. And so I'm often bothered a little bit by the Queen Latifahs of the world. All due respect to the Queen. Yeah. Thank you, Debrat, for taking your stand amongst the ranks. But I think it's
after
crucial.
20 years.
Come on now. But I think it's crucial that if people are not going to credit us if they don't know it's us?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so all this while we've been in awe of the magic of that which is Queen Latifah, the magic of that which is, and but we don't know that that's those my people. I'm often in my family settings like, that's family though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they know what we've got to the point where they know what I mean, my family, like not this up in here,
Right.
not this.
Right.
Not these shenanigans.
Right.
But my family,
Right.
And so I think the leeway, the progress that we're making is the leaps and bounds are growing because we're putting names and faces to it.
Mm-hmm.
Although the names and the letters are plenteous, but at least they know, those are those folk, however they, want to categorize us. But at least they know there's a humanizing quality to it, and go, wow, that amazing musician all this time has been gay, or that a brilliant mind and half of a genius has always been styling Susie Q's hair, and so
Mm-hmm.
forth and so on. So now we're the strides, our pace is intensified because we're showing up.
Right.
And so I think that is the key, honestly.
Right. Thank you. Ocea.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off what Des said, and also what Jazzmun said earlier. Yeah, I have had an issue with the Queen Latifahs for a while. I've even brought it up to people because, like I said, visibility is important to me for the youth primarily. And I mentioned it to somebody one time, probably more than once, but particularly this one guy. I said, I just don't think it's right that, Queen Latifah doesn't speak on or hides the fact that, she's a lesbian and she's had the same girlfriend for X amount of years, all that. I said, and then, the guy was like, well, she has a right to discuss her sexuality or not, I said, really? But yeah, she's questioning people back when she had a show about their lives and their personal life. You know what I mean? And then I said, like, what really bothers me about that is just that, like, you have the opportunity to, like, inspire and encourage so many young Black LGBT people that are looking up to you, and you choose not to. Yeah, that's your right. But like for me, like, I would never make that choice because I feel like, we fight so hard just to be visible and to exist. And just for me to be able to, if I was in her position, to be able to make that easier, for anybody that's a child or youth or teen or even another adult, and there's a lot like that. Like, I mean, obviously we're not only talking about, Black folks, but, there's another, Michelle Rodriguez, same way, you know what I mean? As far as brown people are concerned, like, she was questioned about being a lesbian, which she obviously is. And she said she likes sausages and that was funny. So it's just like, I understand everybody is not, Jazz is like laughing. Everybody doesn't take, and everybody's not an activist. I get it. Everybody doesn't care about, the youth, but that really gets under my skin because I feel like we as LGBT people, especially Black, and in the case of Michelle Rodriguez, brown LGBT people, we have a responsibility. And like Jazzmun said earlier, about it's important for our love to be visible. Like, I like how she used the term like making love or just living just normal everyday lives together in our relationships. Because I feel like, and I know you all agree, like the media, and not just the media, but just society in general acts like all we do is have sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just have sex with each other. And I hate, this is the number one, like one of my biggest pet peeves that a lot of, not just hetero, but even, other LGBT people say is like, I don't care where you put your what. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. And I'm just like, hold on, like, this is not about what I do just about what I do in my bedroom. This is about who I love, who I build a life with, who I have a family with. And not that every LGBT person wants that, but a lot of us do. So why? That's another form of internalized homophobia, especially when LGBT people do it. It's like, hold on. So you feel like if you minimize this just to sex, that it's not going to be so hard on you because all of the people who are like, I just don't care who I sleep with. It doesn't matter. I'm open. And I'm not judging that too for all of the pansexual people. Like that's an identity too. But like, there are people that just like want to have sex and they don't care. You know what I mean? But it's like, I feel like to limit it to just sex, and that's what the media does. Like, and I don't know if like everybody notices that, like when we watch the media, it's just like, a bunch of like hooking up or whatever with LGBT people. Like we're not just like hetero people, and we don't have lives like them, especially in terms of Black couples. You know what I mean? Black LGBT couples.
Right. Jalen.
Can I add one thing to that?
Wait, hold on, Paul. Hold on. Let Jalen go.
I want to ask a question to Osea. Because I'm really listening now. You say that about Queen Latifah. Did you say that same thing about Oprah?
Yes. Yeah. I say the same thing about Oprah all the time.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, like she really went across the whole country in a car with Gayle, and they're like best friends. Like, you come on now. You know they did some little truck stops over there.
Baby,
you know,
we all know Stedman in the back house for a reason. We know that. And you know, we have to get, and hopefully lift those people up.
I'm okay with them. And maybe I'm of a generation that I'm okay with them not having to be gay or lesbian. Maybe I'm 58. I'm just okay with that. I'm like, I don't think that should have to have been their issue, their fight. No, I think that they did wonderful. And again, I'm on a listening campaign here, but I'm speaking my truth here. I love them, and I guess I'm not lesbian. I don't hate on them at all for nothing.
Well, we're also having kitchen table talk as well too, as we have to acknowledge that there are people in our community, both on the forefront and behind the scenes, who we wish could be a little bit more. And again, that's where the internalized homophobia comes, just like the internalized racism. To me, those are two sides of the same coin, where we see someone who will not acknowledge, and it just frustrates you. And the only thing I can do at this point, again, I'm not taking their medicine for other people's headache, is try to uplift them. Hopefully by me just being me will encourage anybody, regardless of what it is, because there's more to it. I took my stance as a drag queen and on television and different things like that. People saw I was more than just what you saw, a man and a pretty man being a pretty woman. Let's be real about that. But there was more to me. And when people got to see, and again, people like Archbishop and my ministers and Reverend because when you first come out, you're so gung-ho and you have to prove everything to everyone. And then people were like, just chill, child. They're going to love you for you because you love yourself. And that's all that matters. So hopefully these people that we're speaking of, or not even speaking of, hopefully they can get on the same train of self-love, whether it be to the masses or to themselves. But Jalen wanted to comment.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the word like humanize. That word kind of struck a chord low key. Like the fact that we're still having to do that. Like I'm learning that the phrase history repeats itself is really true. Like we're still fighting the same thing that Dr. Martin Luther King and Bayard Rustin was fighting for, equality, to be seen as an equal. And that is just crazy to me. But at the same time, that shows me how this generation, with the way that media goes, and folks who are in the media and in the limelight have the opportunity to, you know, to shed light on many lifestyles that people don't see, because many people are ignorant, and because they don't see it and they don't know it, they don't see our type of love, they don't understand it. And granted, not everybody's an activist, and not everybody's going to take medicine for somebody else's pain and blase, but I feel like that's why it's important for folks to show up, so that people can have these types of conversations, not necessarily on Zoom, but on a more intimate level. Because me telling somebody who, let me be blunt, me telling a white person that the way that they see me or treat me is wrong isn't gonna really affect them. But if their child or little brother or, you know, someone from their circle brings that same conversation to them in the way that they can, then that might bring some change. So, you know, granted, I'm not going to force anybody to be an activist, but things like conversations like this remind me why it's important to stand in my truth and to be, you know, transparent and apparent everywhere I go.
Right.
I just wanted to reflect to Paul, what it's like mostly is almost as if we have a friend who's let's say a top executive at a record company, and I'm an aspiring musician. And I know my friend is this thing, but because they don't necessarily acknowledge that we are friends, then I don't get to reap the, you know, to kind of reap the perks of that. So it's just, you know, no hatred. You know, I get it. I don't necessarily, I'm not an advocate necessarily of having a gay pride parade, you know, in your life for everybody. But I think it's just essential to note that when there are those moments where, you know, I can open the floodgates for so many because I'm seated at this level of the board, or I have my foot in this particular door, I think it's just crucial. It just reminds me of being in corporate and making those hard decisions. Do I show up for this interview where I know I can get this job surely and make this, you know, extra monies that wouldn't be offered to your average? But now I'm weighing out, am I showing up in a button-down shirt with a tie on?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
or
Yes.
am I pulling out my tights? Because I don't even know how to buy stockings. Or am I pulling out tights
Oh, I thought you were gonna pull
and
out
wearing a
something.
blouse that I got from my mother? You know what I mean? So for me,
Yeah.
it was important to think about all of the other little dyke girls that was going to be behind me, all of the
Yeah.
potential trans individuals that would follow in my footsteps, that would need to have a job in corporate and not still be flipping burgers someplace.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I you know, it just kind of gets under my skin in those respects.
Right. Harry, but really quick, I just want to say again, we do these things without even acknowledging, because other people have paved the way. I never, from being from South Central Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s, I never would have been able to see myself on television if it had not been for Jazzmun, if it had not been for others. And again, we see TV and we see the negative. We see the men on film, and we see, you know, I'm dating myself, Jody from Soap, you know, which were played, shut up, Des, which were played by heterosexuals. But now we can see people who look like me that I can talk to and call and say, hey, sis, how was it breaking those doors down and being a person, getting your SAG card and being reputable? Because we see what we see on television, but oh, look at the kid, it looks like my precious. But having those conversations, again, Jazzmun, we've known each other for a long time. And when I think about the people who encouraged me to do what I love to do and not be shamed and walk into those rooms in all my whole, like they said in Unity, holy boldness. Because when you have that behind you, whatever you do, there are people every day who will not have the opportunity to be expressive. Even if, again, I try to embrace all of who I am. And at this level, ain't no going back. I've done everything from drag to being a makeup artist to working on television, broadcast journalism. And it's because the people who helped me love myself when I didn't know how to love me. That is crucial. And that helped me see another person. I don't need you to explain why or when, where, how. I just see you. And because I love myself, I want you to love me as I love you. Go ahead, Harry.
I just wanted to touch on two quick things real quick. So when Ocea was speaking on just kind of like the things that the media is putting out there, I was so upset that I could not make, I think it was Shop Talk, I think last week you guys were talking about was like the HIV stigma. Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought I remember seeing that. So the media puts out the bad image with and they try to associate like HIV and connect it to the gay lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like, you know, around the world, you know, a lot of times people never really studied and researched. It was just like, you know, they kind of feel like, oh, if I touched you, you got it. Not doing the research, understanding that's not how you get it, for one. Mm-hmm. For two, it wasn't the LBGT or the rest of the acronyms. Mm-hmm. I can't think of all of them right now. I've been drinking, but you gotta get what I'm saying. It wasn't
LGBTQIA plus.
Thank you. They attached that to us. They didn't belong to us. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. People don't do the research to understand. Again, it's the media that says something. It's like, oh my God, like that wasn't ours. Now, how it got over here, I don't know. Like, it should go back to where it belonged, but that's not something that we brought. That was something that was attacked, that they just labeled on us to try to make us, you know, be deemed as these people that we should not be. Right. And Paul, I so respect you for being in this platform and listening and trying to understand like different generations. For me, I'm 31 and I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. So it's so different in the Midwest versus in the South versus the East Coast versus the West when it came about really being able to be who you are. Like I remember when they had passed the bill for us to be able to get married, but it wasn't in all states. So now at that point, it's like, okay, well, shit, like I want to go get married. Maybe I should just pack up and move and go. So over time, people started to get with times. And I definitely think it's because we came from a generation like you guys that were like, I mean, I know what it is. I don't really speak about it, but I know what it is enough to respect it. Where our grandparents, it was just like, no, like if you got a grandparent that was with the times, you was like, oh my God, that's my best friend. But that generation was like, no, that's not what you do.
Right.
Your generation understood it a little bit more, and then my generation was like, well, what you want? It is what it is. Why we still talk about it?
Well, it's imperative. Thank you. Really quick, Ocea. Jalen, can we talk about, because last week we actually played Jeopardy at the Shop Talk with Ocea Lei, and it was very informative. Again, I've been doing this since 1995, so knowing modes of transmission. So it's always room to learn. There were things that I thought that I knew. If I'm not mistaken, Jalen, and help me, before the pandemic, one of the biggest and highest population was senior citizens, correct? Right. So it wasn't just a gay thing, but again, the information is out there. That's one part of the puzzle. The second part of the puzzle is somebody being receptive to learn it. And when you have those two things and they marry each other, it's a beautiful thing, because it's not just, there are people, again, when I was coming out, they were, oh, you're so gung-ho, and I was learning, but I had to learn from somebody younger. And so it's always a constant evolution and revolution of being able to learn to give. One of my favorite gospel songs is My Living in Vain by the Clark Sisters. And I say it all the time, if I can help somebody along the way, whether it's just me standing in my truth, whatever that is, if you like it, I love it. So there's always work to be done. And you're always going to come across, a different generation or a different struggle. But if we can sit down as adults and have a conversation, again, if you were to tell me the sky was peach purple, okay, that I may not see it, but I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm like, okay, that's, because how do I know there's something not in your eye? Quiet as kept, it may be something in my eye. But again, we have to give each other that room to grow and experience of just living and being. And you were going, Osha, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was going to mention a couple things. One thing Harry was speaking upon with the HIV and AIDS thing, and I'm pretty sure that this has already been proven. I mean, that I think it was in the 70s that in New York, like I know that homosexual men were like they were going to clinics and they were like injecting them with like hepatitis C and all kinds of stuff. So some people feel like, they were injecting basically homosexual men with these different diseases. And like, I do not feel like that's far-fetched at all. You know what I mean? Another thing, like, somebody say something?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but that's a lot of medical mistrust, because we've had stories like that from like Tuskegee and things like that. So you're absolutely right in suspecting that might be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to mention about Paul. I'm going back a little bit back on the Oprah thing, I'm stuck on that. This is one thing about Oprah, I gotta say, she's kind of an exception, even though I've spoke on her too, because she doesn't really have the ability to say anything. Like everybody knows, what was it, in the 90s, she said something like, McDonald's hamburgers, don't eat it, and was sued for millions of dollars. So
she brought all that fat out in that wagon, baby. They got to her.
So in terms of like, she doesn't even speak up for Black Lives Matter. Like I'm sure you guys seen her. She spoke up and said, "Oh, the grassroots organizations needs to be more organized." And I wanted to say, like, so what are you going to do to organize it? You know what I mean? Like the only thing that came out of your mouth was a complaint. you know, about, we know she's talking about Black Lives Matter, you know, talking about these grassroots groups. But anytime I hear her speak, even on Black issues, like, she's always going to tiptoe around everything, I understand, because of somebody who's worth, you know, $7 billion, $8 billion. Like, honestly, maybe her, in my opinion, her life is on the line. You know what I mean?
Write a check.
Say it again.
Everybody's platform of representation and you know, including, is different, because there are things that, you know, I would like to speak on that people think I should speak on, or when I have spoke, that they jump because they're in their feelings or they misunderstood what I was saying. So I've learned to step back and do what I can. And during this pandemic, my contribution is this show. Again, I had a show that was in a studio and I could have taken it, I could have sat back, but Spirit kept hitting me upside the head and be like, you have this opportunity, even if no one watches it. You know, I'm giving, and again, being able to share and connect with people, because my show was in K-Town. So the possibility of me having as many guests as I had last year would have been far-fetched, but I took what's going on and used it. And I think that's where we all see ourselves as we grapple with it a lot of times. First, we're grappling within our own self on what we can do for our own self. And then it comes to just like, okay, Lord, where do you want me to move next? And I'm very stubborn. I've been trying to run, and I've been running and running from it. Now that I'm embracing it and still having a little bit of challenge with it, I'm like, oh, I've been running, I've been looking around, and you were here all the time. Hey, come on, somebody. Anybody want to? I'm sorry.
Armond.
Yes, sir.
It's in my spirit. As an elder in the room, listen, there's a reason that Des, you're here. There's a reason, Jalen, I can imagine the shit that comes at you, brother. And you're not fucking with it. You're not hitting the pookie. Get the fuck out of here, Jalen. There's a reason. And Harry, I can imagine the distractions that are fucking with you, that are coming at you on an ongoing basis. And Ocea, you're fab. You know? So our ancestors put certain things in y'all. Y'all got some extra. Believe it. It's a more responsibility. It's heavy on your shoulders, but you can't shake it.
We can shake them, but we can't shake it.
On you, Dad. It's on you, Harry. And it's on you, Jalen. And it's on you, Jazzmun. And it's on you, Ocea.
Ocea.
The Malcolms, the Martins. That's y'all now.
Right. Thank you,
So
Paul.
No,
Yeah,
you're
thank you,
supposed
Paul.
to be here because there's so many reasons they don't want you here. There's so many reasons. And as fabulous as you all are, there's so many reasons they do not want y'all here smiling like you're smiling now. But you are, and the pressure's hard on your shoulders, but you can't shake it.
Right.
Do something as you are now. Continue to know that you're on your purpose, because that's why you're here.
Amen.
And we will all benefit from it.
Amen.
As a people, as a community. I'm proud of you all. You're real.
Thank you, Paul. And you, again, you know what it's like.
We go way back, and I'm so proud of you, brother, sister.
Yes,
girl,
that's
brother.
fine. It's okay. You know, I'm all of that. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I was the first winner.
I tooted for you, beat.
Back in 2007, when you had the old school barbecue talent competition, and I was a very young Imani Phoenix then, and I know some of the girls, they was upset that I snatched it, but baby, when you come with a good routine, and when you come from girls like another shout out to a legend that has passed away, Miss Kiwi, who is another one who installed, and she saw something in me. Again, this was another representation of someone looking at television, looking at movies, and I saw I could do it. She said, Miss Thing, go ahead, do it. But what you need to do is know who you are and know that you're professional no matter what they throw at you. Again, this was before Michelle was saying, when they go high, you know, whatever, you know, Kiwi taught me that. So when I did my presentation and performed, it was and I'm glad it wasn't a girlfriend competition where the audience chose the winner, you know, but again, that propelled me to do other things. And I saw that, okay, I'm doing this and I'm putting these wigs in entertainment, but there's more to it. There's an expression.
People, by the way, in front of your own people.
Right. which is not always easy. It's not when you can, and Jazzmun, I want to ask you and tell in on that, breaking barriers and doors in the entertainment business, professionalism, it's something to you, and you have to be strong, baby. You have to be, because one minute you're booking and you're doing all these things, and then the minute, but you find other things to do with your talent, your gifts, and your skills, correct? Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're doing it, you're just showing up, right? You've been given an opportunity, you walk through the door and you just do the job that's, in front of you. I don't think anyone's intentionally going in saying, I'm gonna create, something that hasn't been done before. I'm gonna, knock down walls or barriers. I don't think anybody goes into the situation thinking that way. It's just you're just showing up, and it just so happens you get to keep showing up, and other people benefit from you showing up.
Right.
So that's a beautiful thing. I mean, like I said, it's with grace and ease. So, it's nothing like I imagined or I thought about doing it. It's just sometimes those opportunities presented themselves to me, and I was ready to walk, in that spirit or in that moment, and that's what happened. And I'm grateful that I'm standing, here, knowing that because of the work that I did with Patrick Polk and Punks and all the TV shows that came before, there's a Laverne Cox, there's a Janet Mock, there's so many new girls coming up, and out, and I'm grateful that I, helped usher that in, created the platform. But like, I don't get to sit in my house and go, if it wasn't for me, it's like I have other things I have to do and continue doing, and and I always tell people I will always act. Like, that's something that I'm passionate about, and I thoroughly enjoy doing. But it's not who I am, right? There's so many other parts to me, that I get to explore and I get to express, and sitting on a panel like this and listening to great minds, come together and celebrate, our amazing, our greatness is just like beautiful and necessary.
Thank you, Jazzmun. As we're getting closer to the tail end, because I don't want to keep, I know Harry's almost midnight over there, and I don't want you to turn into a pumpkin on camera, but I want to, and again, there's no easy way, there's no way we can put a bow. Well, go ahead. There's no easy way to try to put a bow on this, because this conversation can go on extensively, and I'm glad that you guys have joined me on this journey. But if we could leave with something, whether it's for ourselves or for other people watching, what do you think that will be in the totality of embracing all of who we are? Because I personally, again, I was so grateful last week to talk about the importance of Black history through literacy, through the owners of Malik and April of Malik's bookstore. And I got to share my love of reading that was given to me by my grandfather and my great-grandmother, and knew that coming into my wholeness started with being a proud Black man. And then the rainbow came in, and it was even more, pride. Pride is such a beautiful word. When we find pride, honey, I'm proud, I'm left-handed. There's pride in everything that we do. So how do we start to convey that for others, but first for ourselves? And anyone can chime in on that.
I think conveying it for ourselves, we have to start doing the work far as healing is concerned. I am a huge advocate for therapy. I love therapy. I feel like if I was not in a therapist, I don't know where I would be. Okay. Because my therapist sometimes talks me off of that ledge, and I'd be like, you know what? I didn't see it from that point. I know that one thing that my boyfriend and I, what we do, we have been sitting down and we've been watching Peace of Mind by Taraji. And when I say that, it has just really just been like an eye-opener. Like her season finale, she did a show with transgenders, and she gave them a platform to talk about the stereotypes and the things and the hurt that they have been through. And it was so informational to me, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that my good sisters and my good brothers, they have statistics put an age limit on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't know that, and I didn't understand that, but I was so happy that, you know, there are people like, you know, like Taraji in the mental field that is giving platforms and letting us know, like, just because I may be in Hollywood, I've got these traumas too that I have to heal from.
Mm-hmm.
So I think far as an individual, you know, point, we have to do what we have to do to heal. And once we heal, we have to be vulnerable enough to let people know that we have.
Mm.
Because what happens is we heal alone, but then we start seeing this generation that's doing the same things that we were trapped in.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, at the end of the day, as I'm continuing to move forward and heal, I'm an open book. I do not want to see the same things that I've been through repeated again and again and again.
Exactly. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, my love.
Okay.
Next on the docket. Anybody?
It seems as if transparency is the guarantee that we you know we'll be able to be acknowledged and to forge ahead. Um, you know, everyone should just take a stride from your titling, standing in your truth. I mean, there's just a huge significance to it. If you don't exist, then we're not impacted by you. You know, and that's not always a label, but it does require your showing up. We need to feel your essence. We need to know that you exist. We need to know a little bit about what you stand for. And so that just helps to kind of trouble the water, so to speak. And then there's movement, there's forward march. Because any stagnant, you know, it reeks, it goes stale, and you know, eventually it's nothing that you want. So
Thank you, Des.
absolutely.
And like Des said, I would agree. Transparency, visibility, pride,
Mm-hmm.
also confidence.
Mm.
You know, and I guess I just think like in terms of like quote unquote normalizing LGBT people, like we live lives just like everyone else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to mention earlier too, like, because I'm thinking about Paul and things that he's mentioned in his experiences being the elder of this group, and also Jalen being the youngest. I think that it's important for us as LGBT family throughout the generations, because Armond, I know you and me are the same age, Gen Xers.
Right.
And I realized that like from Paul's generation, I think every generation has it easier in some ways because of the people who have paved the way. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, you know, Paul saw the worst of it towards LGBT people, especially people of color. And then, you know, comes Gen X, you know, then the millennials, then Gen Z. And I think that we all need to exchange our stories and learn from each other. And like, I think about the generation so much because being you know, Armond, we're kind of in the middle there between the millennials and the Gen Xers. We're like gap bridgers. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm here for.
Exactly. We're bridging those generations. And I think about it because I have a 22-year-old son. And in his high school, which was in Culver City, when he graduated, when he was 18, his prom king was a Latina, like a masculine presenting or non-binary, you know. And I was like, wow, when I was in school, like never,
I didn't get to do
you
it.
would have never heard of it, you know, like, or Latinx, sorry, I said it wrong.
Right.
A Latinx male presenting prom king. And I was like, wow, like, and he just said it like, oh yeah, you know, everybody, you know, I think he like misgendered or something, said everybody loves her, like she's the most popular and they voted for. I'm just like, wow, that's awesome, you know. So it was like a cisgender, you know, hetero man with, you know, a prom king. Mm-hmm. And I was like thinking, I'm so happy that my son got to experience that because he was a Gen Zer, you know.
Right. And also leading from your example of being, you know, his mother also helps as well too. Again, it's not something we set out every day and say, okay, I have to do this, I'm going to check. It's just being. And we all should just be. That's the simplest thing that any of us can do. Who would like to go next? Yes, sir.
Comment on that part, just being. That's not as easy as you may think. Because sometimes we gay people are taught gay is sex, drugs. That's not just being. It's not just going to school and just being gay. I don't think the message is as succinct as you may think it is.
Right. Well, for me, and again, I'm still on my journey here. Doing this show is still a struggle. Doing and thinking is my worth. So I know what it's like, but my transparency and my authenticity, I don't live for likes. I don't live for, oh, I need to do this. Because when the cameras are off, I still have a life to live. And my authenticity is just showing up. So I get it, but it's a journey. Whether you're 10, 12, 24, 42, or 62, it's an individual journey. And like they say, life is not a race. You're gonna go. There are times where I'm feeling good and their life will pull me back. But what gets me back is acknowledging that I'm human, regardless of what it is. And I want other people to share that experience and know that we all can learn from each other, regardless of social economic status, gender, non-binary. We all have to look in each other's eyes and see the human but we also have to see it in ourselves first. And it does start from home. Jalen or Jazzmun?
I would just close by saying, be super gentle with yourself. Know your worth. Know that you're worthy of all things good in the universe. Eat your favorite foods. Watch your favorite movies. Do the activities that bring you complete and utter joy. Like my mission is, and my passion and my purpose is joy and peace. Like I want peace. Ultimately, I want peace. And when I have peace, everything else is what everything else is. And I'm really, really grateful that I'm still here and I'm celebrating being me and you being you and us being us.
Thank you, my darling. Jalen,
Happy early birthday.
Yes, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Jalen, close us out before I give out everyone's following information.
Oh, you gonna make me close it?
Yeah. Look, how you feel being, you see, now you know, so you got the other side. You lead groups and now you're in one. Now you know how I feel when I come to your group.
Oh yeah, the pressure is definitely on. What to say though? I honestly don't really know what to say, but I just wish that folks could be a little bit more introverted in that they rely on themselves as opposed to outside factors, because you gotta love yourself. You gotta boost yourself up. Like you, Armond, the fact that you left-handed, like folks have to be able to take their little things in their lives and make small goals out of it and bring that to the bigger picture. So that's why I just wish that folks can be a little bit more introverted so that they can, not rely on other people and just, rely on yourself, love yourself, give yourself some affirmations and just, be you, show up and eat great foods and be joyful.
Yes.
I love
show up and show out. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you blessed, beautiful, inside and out people. Thank you. Thank you for adding to my journey. Thank you for being my friend and coming along. If there are any projects or anything that you are working on individually, please let the greater audience know how they can get in contact with you, how they can support, and let's continue to go on and be fabulous, beautiful, and encourage one another. So Jalen, I'll let you go first since you went last just now.
Thank you. For a broader spectrum, I honestly represent Reach LA, which is the nonprofit organization I work for. And briefly, I just want everybody to know that we are open for testing now. Due to COVID, we had to take a little step back, but we are open for testing. But whether we are or not, we are partnered with a telehealth provider. So if anyone is interested in receiving PrEP services, y'all can check out Hey Mister or Hey Sister. That's Mr. or Sister without the E, so MISTR or SISTR. But I just want to let y'all know that if y'all need anything, we're starting mental health services as well. We host
already on the list.
Okay, we host a plethora of different discussion groups similar to this one, like a Monday Night Mix-Up or the shop talk that I co-facilitate every Thursday, which is open for Black men. Harry, I know you'll be there, so I'll see you in a couple of days.
Yeah.
But basically, I just want to let y'all know that Ocea Lei is out there for anybody who needs it. You don't have to be Black, you don't have to be gay, you don't have to be a man, you don't have to be anything. But if you need any of the services, contact us, hit us up. You can reach me at jalen@reachalei.org. And also, last thing, we're partnered with the LGBT Center South. And what we do is Pride Pantry every other, I think it's the second and fourth Friday. So if anyone needs any type of food assistance like that, we give out non-perishables and fresh fruits and vegetables. So if anybody needs anything like that I mentioned, and I know I'm missing a whole bunch of other things that we do, but if anybody needs me, y'all can contact me at Jalen, Jaylen @reachalei.org.
Thank you,
And thank you
Jalen.
again, Armond, for all this. I think this is really beautiful. And
thank
pressure
you. I'm
was
glad to
definitely
have you
on me in
finally.
this seat, but it was fun to be in these.
I
in this
know.
space with
I'm
like-minded
glad
people.
to have you finally on my show now. So it's like, yay, one and done.
Okay.
Who's up next?
Let me chime out here.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I've sat in panels before, but Jazzmun, Des, Harry, Jalen, and Ocea, y'all are some extra shit. Y'all are some real extra shit. Y'all are awesome. Feel me? I can imagine the weight that's on y'all's shoulders because of our ancestors gave you a whole bunch of something. Y'all are some extra. And there's nobody like you. No one. So yeah, the responsibility is heavy on your shoulders because it was supposed to be heavy. Because you're supposed to handle it. Keep doing what you're doing, brothers and sisters. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy to be on this panel. And Armond, you already know my empathy for you.
Thank you, Paul.
Do more. Do more. Do more. It's 2021. It's our time. Jazzmun, let's do more.
Yes. Thank you, Paul.
Let's go. Well, I love you, Paul. Thank you so much for your applause of us. I know personally I've looked up to you in a very private and secretive way, honestly. Just watching you over the years and just your works and your trail, the directions that you've taken, just noteworthy. I'm appreciative of anybody who's in what I call the hustle, not necessarily the struggle, but the hustle of this thing called life and human advocacy. Though most of us have steeped our claims in our own community, but we're working for human, just leveling the playing fields, and it is very important and vital that we show up and be who we are. And that is, I think, every time I've hit that unmute, I've said a different version of the same sermon. It's really about showing up as your authentic self. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. And being careful to remind others to relax and allow you to be and do just that. Because the tension that's surrounding that is really, I mean, we call it hatred, but it's just anything negative, honestly. There are a whole list of words that we can choose to hang on that for labeling. But it's important for us to remind those around us to allow everyone to be who they are. There's a space and a place for each of us, and we're all important. And so as long as we continue to show up, I'm certain that this will be the paradise it was intended to be, where we live in perfect peace, pure love, and complete harmony.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Black people.
Again, Armond, I thank you so much for this platform. Jalen, I love you guys. I'm gonna see y'all Thursday. That's my good Kiki hour. So I'm ready for Thursday.
Okay.
Social media, I can be reached at MRHC_89. That's on Instagram or on Facebook. You can reach me at Harry Crawford. If I can just leave you guys with one thing, they would always say, dance like nobody's watching. But I say dance like they watching, and since they watching, give them a show.
Give them a little bit, just give them a little bit. Yeah, son. Thank you, Harry.
That was gorgeous. Armond, thank you so much for including me on your panel today. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I'm glad I was able to do it. You can reach me, Jazzmun, Jazzmunc, at apaitonline.org. We have a plethora of programming. We do prevention, intervention, HIV prevention, intervention, mental health, and we have housing. So we have housing in a collaboration with DMH as well as HOPIX and LASA. So we've been really, I've been pushing that because our community has been suffering and then not able to access certain services. So I'm really grateful to be a part of the team. Also, thank you for celebrating me. If you want to watch my movie that was at the Pan Film Festival,
Yes,
called In Full Bloom, Transcending Gender. It's on Amazon Prime. And I have a song on Spotify called Your Love Gives Me Life. So
yeah, and I love that video, baby, on the beach.
yeah.
I love the hair. I was
Joy.
loving the hair. Yes.
Thank you.
What's the name of the
Thank you.
film one more time?
The film is called In Full Bloom, Transcending Gender, and it's on Amazon Prime.
And
And what
rounding
was
us
your,
up, Miss Osha.
social- Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Armond. What was your social media, Jazzmun?
My social media is Jazzmun Nikela on Instagram and Jazzmun on Facebook. Jazzmun Crayton.
So you guys can all find each other on my page. I've tagged most of you guys in the Facebook as well as the Instagram for those I had. And again, don't let this be the first time, we see each other, but rounding us out, Miss Osha.
Thank you. It's always, it's always real with you,
Yes,
Armond.
my love. Thank you.
Keeping it real. It's been an honor to be on this panel with all of you guys. Armond, Jazzmun, people. Armond, Jazzmun, Des, Jalen, Harry, and Paul. Yeah, like Paul said, this has been a badass panel. I feel inspired by it. You can find me on Ocea_Lei, just like my OCEA _Lei on Instagram, and Ocea Lei on Facebook, Ocea Lei Iverson on Facebook. Right now I'm working on publishing my poetry book. And basically I'm gonna post a link to that, like in a link tree in my Instagram. And trying to think of what else. That's about it right now. I'm still skateboarding. Every once in a while teaching kids to skate. If anybody wants to refer any kids or any adults want to learn to skateboard, I've been skateboarding since 7. Let me see what else. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, doing spoken word on Thursday nights on FOS_Thursday, Freedom of Speech Thursdays,
Yes.
on Instagram at 7. And I've been doing the first Saturday every month at Hot Words Lyrical Theater, also over the phone lines until they go back after, social distancing on Western, in South LA.
Mhm.
And the Poetry Lounge every once in a while online Tuesday nights. So yeah, that's about it. And just happy to be part of it. Thank you for including me again for a second time, Armond.
No, thank you. I'm beyond full, and every show, you guys, some of you may know, but it's always that internal, should I do it, should I not? Putting panels like this together, just in general, is not an easy thing, making sure schedules and bios and things like that, but I'm grateful for it. I'm one of those people that, listens to the call, and then when I get it, I'm like, oh, and then when it happens, it's like, so I thank you for being on this journey for season 2. I'm still relishing in the fact that I was able to do all those shows last year, and I'm happy to announce that I am back on podcasting. So although I'm visualized, I am now back on, as of now, Spotify, Google Play, and it takes a while to get back on, but I have my link tree. If you go to Standing in Your Truth on Instagram, you see my link tree, and I put it on my Facebook page the other day. The YouTube page is up now. So what I'm doing is that, because I'm in season 2 and I did all the shows last year, for every new show, I'll put an old episode on. So right now on the show are all 18 of the shows I did when I was in the studio. And then I'm working on last week's show is up, as well as this first episode from season 1. So come Friday, this show will be up, as well as the second episode of season 2. So please support if you can. I love the comment. Again, I don't profess to be a voice of everyone, just for myself and those on the panel. So again, thank you. I like to say in closing, like I always do, and I have a whole poem, which Ocea has heard before, there are 86,400 seconds in any given day. Choose wisely what you do with yours. Be diligent, be affirmative, but above all else, love yourself as you love others. Until we are blessed to see each other again, thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening, and let's continue to talk. I'm going to work on something like maybe an after show on Wednesday, but it takes a lot of energy. I'm sitting here, y'all know, in my little green screen. Maybe if I move too much, but that's okay. I'm making it do what it do. So thank you guys again. Be blessed. Find the passion. Find your passion. Stay in your lane to avoid ongoing traffic. With that being said, love, thank you guys. We will all talk again. Again, you guys are in my heart, and I'm indebted to you personally and professionally. Thank you guys. Whew, I'm tired as hell. Good night, everyone.